September 12, 2018. I am remembering how my mother told me that she volunteered in the children's nursery at the church we used to go to before she abandoned us. For years, I had been sharing a story of how she would come to pick me up from the nursery and brag to the people there about how smart I was. After I reunited with her, I told her I remembered that story, and she confirmed that she actually volunteered in the children's nursery. So she was not merely picking me up. All of those years when I thought she was picking me up from the nursery, she was actually in there with me because she was volunteering. Even though I vividly remember things about my mother when I was only 2 years old, there are still parts I do not know. I never would have imagined that she actually volunteered in the nursery. She does not remember some of the stories that I shared with her. She actually did not even remember the story of bragging about me to the nursery workers. She just remembered that she volunteered in the nursery. When I asked her if she remembered walking me around to the convenience store and buying me malt balls candy, she did not remember that. She did not remember walking me to the store at all. I told her I remembered her laying in the grass in the backyard crying, afraid of being taken away. She did not really respond to that, probably because it was a hurtful moment, and she preferred to talk about things that felt good to her. She has a way of blocking out negative things and only thinking about good and positive things. That seems to be her way of coping with potentially hurtful things in her life. It is interesting for me to learn her side of some of the memories I have carried around with me for so many years. I am also thinking about how my mother mentioned wanting to have a coat with pockets on the inside so that she can hide her stuff. That makes sense since she has been robbed. She also mentioned wanting a cell phone and being able to hide it inside of the coat pockets. She probably would hide it and take good care of it. However, I am still afraid she might lose it, or somebody in the boarding home may steal it while she is asleep or something, because they would know she has it. I am also concerned about her learning how to use it, because it is not the same as using a regular phone. I do not know if she has ever had one before, or if she knows anything about how one works. I know that she would really like to have one. However, I do not know if it is a good idea for me to buy her one. She may be better off obtaining a cell phone from one of those places that provide free cell phones for people who are on a fixed income. Sometimes those places will provide a phone with a certain number of free minutes per month. That could be an option for her to get started with having a phone, since it is free and we could see how she does with it. I am sure she does not need too many minutes per month anyway. Now I know for sure that the boarding home will let her call her family long distance from there if she wants to. She just chooses not to. I do not know if they would make a big deal out of it if she did it too much. They probably would. How do you tell a mentally ill resident they cannot call their family? How do you tell an elderly woman who has lived there for over 15 years she cannot call her family, especially when all of her income goes to that place? Well, anyway, it would be nice if she had her own room in that place. Then I would probably send her a nice mattress, maybe even a nice comfortable chair. Those are the things I would want to do for her if she were here, but not really while she is there. I guess if she did not have to share a room there, it would not hurt. Since she wants to be there, maybe she could have her own space where residents would not be able to steal from her. Then she can have more without having the worry of her things being stolen. Maybe she could even have a television or a refrigerator in her room. It would be nice if she could have a better room in the place where she actually wants to be. However, then she would no longer fit in with the other residents at the boarding home. She would no longer have the appearance of someone who is homeless. To me, it just does not seem feasible to provide that type of life for her in the place where she is. That is just not the place to have many things. It's really not. I wonder if there are any nicer assisted living homes in her city where she could live. The only thing about that is that she likes the boarding home and she is used to being there. She probably would not want to live in another place. Considering how she has been conditioned, she could potentially carry all of her belongings around in a backpack even if she moves to an environment where no one steals. This diary entry started with me talking about her working in the church nursery and how she does not remember the stories that I remember. When I told her about when I used to go into her closet and put on her clothes and shoes, I imagined she may have chastised me for it because she used to take me out of her closet. Then, as soon as she was not looking, I would go right back in there. When I mentioned that memory to her during my visit, she had a look on her face that told me that was not a cute memory for her. It was as if she was thinking, "Oh, you remember that?" Her reaction made me wonder if maybe she disciplined me for it, and I just do not remember that part. I am in awe about how I witnessed my mother being beaten by my father, then listened to her as she denied it 49 years later. She made excuses for my father, saying he treated her good. She said he never did anything for her to be angry with him about, when in reality he admitted to beating her, and it was not right. It was not fair to her. Then again, if he hit her for harming us, the way Jerome said, then maybe she understands why he did it, and therefore, maybe she honestly is not angry with him. I remember my oldest sister Carla beating up on our sister Denisha, who has the same mental illness as my mother, for trying to beat up on me. So maybe that is just what my family did. Protected each other. My father protected us from my mother. He did all he could to protect us and to try to keep us together. For example, bringing me home from the hospital at birth, when my mother was in the mental hospital. That really was honorable of him. My foster care caseworker used to tell me that my father really cared about us, and that he was doing all he could to keep us together. I did not understand what she meant back then. Now I do. He must have told them the story, like the whole story, including how my mother left me in the hospital. My father never told me that my mother left me in the hospital and that he brought me home. I had never heard that story. I figured it out when I got my birth records. When I looked at my records, I thought, wow, it looks like my father took me home from the hospital. Then my mother confirmed it when I met her. I had heard he brought Denisha home from the hospital too. So now, I can see how he tried to keep us together. I used to wonder how he could have possibly been trying to keep us together if he left us in that house alone, and we ended up in foster care. But now, I am able to look beyond the fact that he put his big old hands on my little bitty mother, and recognize his sincere efforts to do what he thought was best for his children.
If you enjoyed this story, please like this video and subscribe to our channel.